obviously you don't have to have a big skid steer to do this. You can lay it flat on the ground and just roll it. It takes a little more effort, but it can be done, and we have done it like that. But when you've got a bunch of fence that you have to build, frequently, and because of our floodplain and where we live, we tend to have to build a lot of fence. We rigged it up where we could use the skid steer to do it. But you can lay it out flat and roll it by hand. It's not as big a deal as people think. Okay, so now we're going to put our stretch bar on the fence, and as a rule of thumb, the shorter the stretch, the closer you can put it to your pull bar or your pull brace, whatever you're using. We're going to use this end of the brace, so we're going to put it probably about right here, and we're going to try to put it kind of in the middle of the gap. And we're going to try to avoid any of those tension. And we're going to put it even this way. And we're going to try to avoid any of those tension gaps or whatever those things are called. I guess I should have read up on that, but I know what they're for. We're going to try to avoid those because you don't get a good grip with your wedges if you do that. Hey, I think that's the right terminology. Don't you love it when guys are trying to help people and tell them how to do this thing, and it's all the thingy-majig, and then you put that deal over there, and then you make that thing go that way. But the bottom line is it works, and it's not a rocket science thing. Okay, so you see all the wedges have the wires down there. If you can't see it, maybe I can bring the camera up here closer in a second, but I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these up. Try to make sure they stay flat while you're tightening them. Okay. Yeah, you can kind of see how that works. Okay, so now we're going to get our chain and our come-alongs and get all that set up. Okay, here's the setup. We've got our pull bar right there. It's hooked to the fence with those wedges. Then it comes back to these come-alongs, and these are both 1.5 tons. Got one on the top, one on the bottom. Chain hooking over to the bottom of the pull bar and to the top of the pull bar. And then we will slowly start tightening it, and then we'll go down the line and jerk it and get it off the post, make sure we're not pulling the post over. And we'll just keep doing that until we get it done, and we'll do it slowly. One thing that I figured out the hard way is, if you remember, when we tied off that other end, the wire, it was right above this right here. And so it's really easy to let your chain rest right here when you're tightening it. But my advice is to get it snug, then go ahead and raise it up. At least if you know where your top wire is going to hit, raise it up above it where it's not going to be completely in your way when you're trying to get it through there. So anyway, it'll come on through right through here and keep on going, then we'll tie it off on the other end. Something I learned. Okay, here we go. It helps if you have new equipment. We don't have any new equipment. I am gonna put my gloves back on though in case something blows up. Maybe it won't completely kill my hands. Okay, I could hear it getting tight on a post, so I'm gonna come down through here and snap it. Hey, here comes the babies. I'll come over here and look at this bar right here and see if it's lined up. In other words, if I got the bottom tighter than the top. Sometimes you can't help it in order to get the same tension. You'll start watching these tension gaps and see when they start closing up. Hey, babies. Bah. Meh. They're like, hey, I'm used to going right through there. Got a little terrace right there that it's kind of catching on a little bit. You can see it's already starting to get tight on a short stretch. That's why I really put my bar too far away. I could have put it closer to that brace, but that's all right. That's one of those things that you just get a feel for it. It has been a couple of months since I built any fence. It looks like we're probably getting a little bit of stretch on that. I'll bring that camera over here where you can see that. I don't know if you can see it or not. I hope you can. But what I'm looking at is this part right here. It's getting a little wider than it was. See how this is further away than down here? It's slipping a little right here. So you just got to kind of watch it. At some point it may just go boom and it may move a little bit. If it does, then you got to just kind of stop and do whatever you have to do to correct it. But it's getting fairly tight. If you look at the extension, the tension spaces, I know somebody's going to write in and go, those are called such and such. Yeah, okay. These are starting to shrink. So that's good. That's what we want. There's some of the goats. That's all we got left. I wouldn't be building that fence. This fence, that was all we had left. I'd be bailing out of those goats real fast. But I like them. I think they're doing great. That's getting pretty tight. Cramp. Oh, you feel that? You hear that topping kind of popping a little bit? I'm going to go down the line and check it again real quick. Make sure it's not hung on the T-post. What do you say, babies? Here you go, go. Yeah, that feels good. That feels good. These tension gaps have flattened out about right. So I might pull it just a tad more because we're going to lose some. We're going to lose some when we get back and tie it off and let off. We'll lose just a little bit. So when you're tightening this, get it to where you think it feels right and the tension gaps are right. And then come back and do it just a little bit more. And it'll take into account what you're going to lose when you tie it off. Still moving a little bit there. Okay, I'll look and see how straight it is. It's not bad. I could go a little further. Okay. Ooh. Pulling the gaps pretty good, so that's probably good enough. That's what a short stretch does. You hear that thing pop? I'll show you the gaps. When I'm saying we're pulling the gaps up pretty good. These gaps are driven in the ground, they're not cemented. Right there. So it's pulled away a little bit, so that'll be about right. By the time we tie off, it'll be fine. This looks pretty good. Nice and tight.